mermaid activities, develop mermaid safety standard, and raise ocean conservation awareness. MFI has 4 missions: raise awareness to the ocean conservation, promote mermaid activities and certification system, research and advise safety guidance, and develop scientific mermaid training and technical standards. MFI is an organization for all the mermaids in the world with members from various countries. MFI development includes mermaid performance, mermaid instructors, and mermaid development center. MFI education system include 4 major courses: M0 Mermaid Experience, M1 Basic Mermaid, M2 Advanced Mermaid, M3 Master Mermaid. Mermaid Federation International is dedicated to promote mermaid activities, develop mermaid safety standard, and raise ocean conservation awareness. MFI has 4 missions: raise awareness to the ocean conservation, promote mermaid activities and certification system, research and advise safety guidance, and develop scientific mermaid training and technical standards. MFI is an organization for all the mermaids in the world with members from various countries. MFI development includes mermaid performance, mermaid instructors, and mermaid development center. MFI education system include 4 major courses: M0 Mermaid Experience, M1 Basic Mermaid, M2 Advanced Mermaid, M3 Master Mermaid.
Hi everyone, welcome back to edX Pixel Virtual Expo, the most awaited panel and discussion of today. I have here a group of very passionate ocean defenders, agent of changes with regards to the ocean. So today we'll be doing a close-up spotlight on GhostNet, one of the major ocean pollution that is pretty elusive and not as commonly mentioned in this field of ours. So I'd like to introduce the moderator, Miss Elsie Gabriel from India. Elsie, you have a wave. Elsie is a mentor for Climate Reality Project and also the founder of Youth Environmentalist Program. Welcome, Elsie. And I will briefly introduce the rest of the panel, and then after that, I'll pass it over to you, Elsie, to just proceed with the rest of the session. Next in line that we have is Mr. Harry Chan from
Hello.
Harry is all rather known as the GhostNet Hunter, and he has been aggressively championing this initiative of GhostNet removal from the ocean in Hong Kong and maybe all across the world as well. Next will be Heidi Yu from Hong Kong, ADEX ambassador of for marine conservation as well. Heidi has been working very closely with Harry to put a stop on this GhostNet through underwater collection and also removal. Next in line we do have is Mr. Gary Stokes from UK, but currently based in Hong Kong. The founder of Ocean Asia. If you are in this industry, I think everybody know who is Gary. And Gary, you want to give it a wave a little bit? Okay. Thank you, Gary. Next in line we have is, of course, the man himself, ADEX Coral Reef Ambassador and also founder of Ocean Quest Global, coming all the way from Myanmar. Mr. Anwar Abdullah, about wave Anwar.
Hey.
And who have it is Mr. Jonas Coles, also from Oracle, the owner of Eternal Divers and also a technical dive instructor, free diving instructor and equipment technician trainer. And last but not least, we have someone all the way from down under who made her amazing time to be here with us, although it's really late already in Australia. Miss Heidi Tate, the Managing Director and co-founder of Tango Blue Foundation. Welcome, everybody. Welcome everyone to ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo. And right now I'll put Chelsea.
Yes, thank you, Nora. Congratulations, 3Dex Pixel Virtual Show. Absolutely fabulous series over the whole isolation period and the whole month. Gripping the world, gripping Asia. Brilliant job. Congratulations, John Tet and the entire team. And a warm welcome to all our viewers across Asia and across the world. Today we have on the panel all our veterans, real crusaders, and absolute life heroes, ocean heroes, I must say. So thank you, Noor, team in HEDEC, for having me as a moderator today. Just to give you a little background about myself, yes, I'm the founder of Young Environmentalist program here, and trained by Mr. Al Gore, former Vice President of USA, and also certified by Harvard on team management. And I've been researching on divers as agents of change in various dive locations and trying to see how divers could accumulate their habitat of divers and immediate ocean community to take proactive steps in collecting garbage and plastic and ghost nets. So I've been researching on that, and I've been diving all over the place. Like Galapagos was my best dive, Cozumel, Grand Cayman, Bahamas, Maldives, and Lakshadweeps and Andamans, and many more places. So that's where I've collected all the data from, and I'm working on that. And of course, I've been working with the Olive Ridley project in the Maldives, where we've been, literally hands-on with the turtles being saved from the ghost nets, and then also recycling the ghost nets that we collect, making bracelets, making artifacts, and reselling them. And very important aspect that I learned is educating the tourists out there who'd come to the resorts and everybody in Maldives on the education of ghost nets and how debris and, is such a community that I've been working with very, very closely. And in India, we work with the youth and with the student community, trying to enforce environment education, trying to enforce, ocean education so that it becomes a policy that is compulsory in the academic curriculum. Right now, it's not a compulsory subject. We're here today, talking about, saving our oceans and talking so that the next generation is gets a good, wholesome ocean. It's for the next generation. So we work with the youth to equip the youth to be well informed and well, educated and well trained so that they can handle the coming years as they grow up. So just lately, one very good news we've had from the Maharashtra government here in India, Mumbai. All these years, we've been using the POP, which is the plastic of Paris with limestones and chemicals. It's a very sensitive topic of idols going into oceans, massive amounts, and a lot of pollution. And during the COVID isolation, the Maharashtra government has made it a policy that now all the idols have to be eco-friendly. So it's been a very, very long struggle and a big, long fight and coordination, working with the system rather than against the system, working with the municipality, with the government, and with the communities. And this is that's one landmark milestone that's been happening during the COVID, which I'm so glad about. So that's the background of my work. And basically, I think we need to take this forward. And it is a big menace in the ocean. And it is truly the unseen slaughter under the sea, because the common man doesn't see it. And the community doesn't see it, and it's just under the ocean. So we divers have a very big responsibility. And I think I welcome all you speakers. We have veterans here who will give you all the technical details, who will expound on their various expertise and take this forward. So it's amazing to, have everybody here with so much experience, and all you viewers are going to be absolutely well informed and take this forward. Work with the speakers today on our panel, join them and take this forward. Very warm welcome to our first speaker on the panel, Mr. Harry Chan. Warm welcome, Harry. I can't hear you. So I can't hear Harry. Harry is known very fondly as a ghost net hunter. Absolutely. Decades of experience, retrieving ghost nets, training and work. So I thought you Harry.
I don't know what happened. Oh,
Only as a ghost net hunter. Absolutely. Decades of experience, retrieving ghost
okay.
nets,
Let me.
training and work. So I thought you Harry.
I don't know what happened. Oh,
Only as a ghost net hunter. Absolutely. Decades of experience, retrieving ghost nets, training and work. So I thought you Harry.
I don't know what happened. Oh,
Only as a ghost net hunter. Absolutely. Decades of experience, retrieving ghost nets, training and work. So I thought you Harry.
okay. Hello.
Yes, Harry.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Sorry about that, everybody. Please go ahead.
Yes, Harry. So warm welcome, and you're known
Thank
as the
you.
Ghost Net Hunter, and you've got years and decades of experience, and single-handedly you've done a lot of work. Firstly, I'd like to know, tell us more about the work that you're doing and the area that you're working in. Is it Brunei and the adjoining countries in the States? And I'd like to know, because you spent decades. Number one, besides your work, you can also expand on the sources of nets. I mean, from where do these nets come? The basic information for our viewers and the types of nets, and then your challenges. So over to you, Harry.
Okay, can I speak slowly one by one, okay? And try to remember your questions, okay? Most of the net, which we call ghost net, are from discarded or lost, abandoned by fishermen. However, for the last few years, I have noticed the public, especially in Hong Kong area, because the ghost net are so easy and cheap to buy, so people will spend $20 and buy 50 meters of net and then go to the sea and try their luck with catching fish, okay? And afterwards, you just dump it in the ocean. And this is another major problem, okay? Please keep asking me questions so I can recall.
Yes, Harry.
I'm sorry.
What are the countries you worked with, and how helpful the government have been?
Okay, I've been working in Brunei, and I went to China up north. I was working there about 4 years ago in Songjiang area with about 3,000 volunteers for the beach cleanup, and then over 100 divers from all over China to join in to do the underwater cleanup, not just the ghost net, but everything, okay? And I did numbers of time in Philippines, especially a place called Talisay in Cebu, and I've been working very hard with the local NGO called the Sea Night, okay? And then I was lucky to be connected with the local government. I told them I came here with my heart and passion, okay? I'm not expert, but brothers and sisters, ocean has no boundaries, okay? No different with religious, color, or sex, whatever. So let's work together for the ocean. And we need your fishermen to help us out. So then the government, after a few times, they do help the local NGO. They employ 4 of the local fishermen who do a lot of dynamic fishing, apart from ghost net, okay? Employ them to help this NGO, which is one step of success, okay? And then I was working in Malaysia. That was 2 years ago in Brunei. Unfortunately, the place they took me there was a diving site. I assume there's no ghost net. But however, when we were down 30 meters, I found a lot of ghost fishing nets in all kind of length and thickness. And then they were entangled all kind of coral from here and there. I can see. And then within one dive, we collect about 10 big bags of fishing mice. Okay. Okay, is it enough, or shall I leave somebody else to talk about it?
Yeah. Would you like to, expound on a few challenges working with the community? How easy it is to involve them, get them on your team?
I have to say, I have to be honest with you. it's so different than doing a beach cleanup in plastic, because in plastic you can have guys, different NGO, a group to do it, okay? But with GhostNet, you need divers. For the last 7 years, I have inspired so many divers, I would say rate over 500 to 1,000, okay? They come and go. Every time when I see newcomers, I'm so happy. And then I feel a little bit disappointed when they call me Uncle Harry. We have to leave your work because they got other things to do and they're not there to clean up trash in the water. They're supposed to enjoy, because they have to spend about over $100 a day, okay, a day off, okay. So it is very difficult, and I'm trying to inspire more people to carry on my work, because I'm sure if I slow down or stop in Hong Kong, people would just die down. Okay, I don't want to see that, because I will be 67 in next month. Okay, I'm still very young, energetic. So I try to inspire more. It is difficult. However, let me tell you one thing. I'm sure a lot of you might not agree with me. Plastic, okay, to me, it's not a major issue in the ocean, okay, because it's easy to see the plastic because they've been washed up to the shore, and all I see in the beaches only represent only very small percentage of the marine trash on the beach. However, GhostNet consists about 40% of ocean trash in the water. Okay, plastic might take years or hundreds of years to disintegrate. Okay, then they do not start killing instantly. However, with GhostNet, it's so different. GhostNet, as soon as they start the duty as fishermen catch tools, then they become silent killer. If you understand what I mean. Silent killer, that means if you get GhostNet that tangle in the rock, they will affect the coral, breach the coral, reduce oxygen. I'm not going to spend too much time on ecosystem because a lot of our friends will spend time on that. I'm just saying that why I say silent killer, I see so many, I even almost got killed by a few of them when I was doing, when you have a net that are drifting with the current, okay, for a long distance, could be for a long time, maybe for years and a decade, okay. As soon as they start drifting with the current, they start killing. I call them spiritual GhostNet, okay. They don't even just kill marine life, they kill divers. In Hong Kong, we have divers that have been tangled by net, okay. They cause a lot of damages to the ecosystem, and I saw a lot when I do beach cleanup, shoreline cleanup, mangrove forest cleanup, and all kinds. I see a lot of waste, okay, chemical waste, domestic waste, construction, all kind of waste. And especially everybody knows today we have this epidemic, okay. I'm telling you, please, we should be aware of this GhostNet, because one of this day, we're going to have a worse one than what we are having now, because this GhostNet will bring all kind of virus from one area to another area, and we cannot find the enemy. We are fighting a war that we don't know where the enemy is. Whereas plastic, they're on the beach, they are drifting or floating on the sea. If you can understand what I mean, yeah?
Excellent, Harry. So on a closing note, what's your message that you'd like to give the viewers, your message, urging them to, look for these GhostNets, report GhostNets if they ever come across in the oceans and the areas that they are in? Your message to the viewers.
Okay, my message to the viewers, okay, please do not try or attempt to clear up any GhostNet. It's so dangerous, okay? But however, please take some photos, even location, and post on the Facebook or to your local government. Like in Hong Kong, we have AFCD, the WWF Hong Kong, they have a site you can put it on and then let people like me to do the dirty work and dangerous work, okay? Also, I have a lot of support that say, Harry, I cannot come to, I'm a diver and I'm scared of the ocean. Don't worry. You can click on anybody's photo from any organization, NGO, just spread the word up. It will help. For example, you just put a like on here, okay, on Facebook, then your friend will see it. Yeah.
Fabulous. That was excellent, Harry. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful net. I love that one. It's like a spiritual, you see.
Where is this one, Harry?
This is near Stanley. Heidi took this picture, and there it was. The water visibility was almost less than a meter. Yeah.
How many tons of net? I mean, how large was it? How difficult was it?
Heidi, would you like to say something on it? I think I speak too much. I should let somebody else to speak about it. Heidi?
Okay. Those are excellent slides, excellent presentations. Yes.
Yeah, some of the volunteers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So should we go on to our next speaker? Heidi, you?
Heidi, you, yeah.
Hello,
Heidi.
Hi, everyone.
So we have a celebrity actress on board, and it's amazing how you are sharing your responsibility as an actress. And how do you find the time? I mean, you're dedicating so much to the planet Earth and the ocean. You've been acting, and you've also been diving for over 13 years. It's been fabulous. And tell us more about your work. And also as Miss Scuba International, as an ambassador, tell us, the key areas of work where you're involved with Ghost Net.
Yeah, thank you. Hi. My name is Heidi from Hong Kong. Actually, I think Henry already covered a lot about what is Ghost Net.
I'm sorry, Heidi.
No, it's okay. It's very good, very good. I mean, everybody know what is Ghost Net is. And actually, I'm one of the diver who inspired by Henry. And actually, I have a dive shop in Stanley in Hong Kong. So that's why me and Henry, actually, we organize a lot of cleanup event together. And we group a lot of Hong Kong divers to do underwater cleanup. So this is what we did a lot last year until now. And I'm really happy to join about Ghost Net killing, because before what I knew is about plastic trash in underwater. So after I know about the Ghost Net, and I really put a lot of effort to learn how to pick it up, because it's not easy. Not like a plastic trash. You need to a group of people. And you need a lot of energy to pick it up. And Henry said every time doing a gym, and then we need a lot of tools like the gloves, like the scissors. Sometimes the Ghost Net will break down to a little bit pieces of Ghost Net, and we tangle of inside the corals. So we do the surgery very, 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 very small, and then we do it very long time, one dive. So I'm really happy to join underwater cleanup for the Ghost Net. So I think Hong Kong, the most difficulty is the visibility, because the visibility is really bad in Hong Kong, especially in summertime. So we have only maybe 1 or 2 meter, and then we need to do a huge Ghost Net cleaning. So I think for us, we need an experienced diver who really enjoy to do this for us. So I'm really happy to know a lot of people. Last year we did a lot of cleaning, and yeah, this is what we did last year.
Now, Heidi, it's a big, huge ocean bay, Hong Kong. Does the government have a policy in place because of the shipping industry? And it's a port. So is there any policy in place regarding, plastics and Ghost Nets?
You mean Hong Kong?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, Hong Kong is a fishing port. As we know, we have a lot of fishermen, and sometimes me and Harry, we just need to identify what is fisherman tool, and we don't touch it because sometimes this is for their income. But at the same time, the ghost net will make divers so dangerous underwater because especially because we have the best visibility. And so sometimes we go night diving, and I heard like so many divers will get tangled by the ghost net. So, and I think this is the most problem because sometimes we feel frustrated because every time when we clean up after every time we clean the ghost net, and then when we get back again, we see another new one. This is the main problem. But what me and Henry think is like, if we don't do it, who can do it? Because only the divers can do it. So, but actually, one place in Hong Kong, we sat. This is Black Point in Hong Kong, just near Stanley in Southern District. They have a lot of ghost net, like 20 to 30 huge one. I guess like 100 divers cannot pick it up. So what we can do, we just take pictures, take videos, and we show to the public, we show to the government, and let them know the problem. And then, so I hope one day we can pick it up day by day, little by little. But what we can do, I think, is educate people. Like, even we talk to the government, can we talk to the fishermen? How we can get the balance of this. And so what we can do is like, we try to pick it up, the trash, the ghost net, if we can do it. Yeah, but of course, safety first. So I think now we are so happy because some of the Hong Kong divers, they joined to the underwater cleanup. Because in Hong Kong, some of the divers or most of the divers, they want to see some beautiful things. So I think you can change a little bit of your mind. It's like we can find a purpose for diving, not only to see beautiful things. We can do something for the ocean. We can just do underwater cleanup. We can just go to the ugly place. We can just return to the ocean that we can do. Yeah, this is really meaningful for me. So I want to keep doing this. So actually, from last year until now, we have organized like 2 times of underwater cleanup for the ghost net every month, and also the government in Hong Kong, they have a ghost net workshop now, and they teach the divers how to remove the ghost net safely, and then how to identify different kind of ghost net, and they find the science to explain how they damage the corals. So I think educate and what we can do, like clean up by action, and we take pictures, we show to the public, and sometimes me and Harry will do some talk in the school, in the different companies, also raise the awareness to everyone. This is one of the important things that we can do. Yeah.
That's fabulous, Heidi. One last question before you go. What do you do with the nets that you collect? Do you recycle them? Where do you deposit them?
This is the most difficult part for us. Yes, because the ghost net, when we picked it up, I think after 3 hours, it will get so bad smell. Yeah, the smell is so bad after 3 hours. We try different way. We try to put inside the fresh water. We try to put different like Dettol, everything, but we can't even remove the smell. So we talked to WWF in Hong Kong. They trying to do, because we have a ghost gear app in Hong Kong. So when you can clean up the ghost net underwater, you can just take a picture, you locate the area, you just upload to the app, and then every divers can see the location. So some of the divers or who can help that, so they can return to the area and then do it. So I think this is a really helpful data for us to how to locate the area. And actually, the WWF, they have a base for connect the GhostNet. So every time when we have a big amount of the GhostNet, we can just call WWF to help. So, but the small one, we just throw it. We can't do anything. It's because the recycle in Hong Kong is not really good, honestly. So we really want to do more in this park.
Okay.
Yeah, after this. Yeah.
Yes, because ghost nets, I think, plastics, hundreds of years, but ghost nets take about 600 or more, and it's absolutely.
But I know Henry has one of the artist friend. He do a lot of recycle artwork for the ghost net. I think this is quite funny. Yeah, funny those the different way. So I think we're trying to talk with some organization like how we can do the ghost net with the like a knickknacks, like a something like how to upcycle this. Yeah, this is what we are doing next step. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. That was fabulous talking to you. Someday I'll come to Hong Kong and together maybe we can make a film. You be the star.
Yeah. I will bring you to the Black Point.
On go. We can do it together. Wonderful having you. Fabulous sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we have Gary Stokes here with us today as well on the panel.
Yeah, hi.
Welcome, Gary. You're the legal eagle of the ocean.
The legal eagle.
Fierce conservationist, no nonsense, hardcore, mover, and working very hard towards enforcing the law, enforcing the system, and cracking the whip there, Gary. So very proud of you to have you on the panel. You're the founder of the Oceans Asia. So, you're an activist and you've been focusing a lot on the shark fins. So can you expand about your work and how, more about the legalities? So all the other dive centers, all the other ocean habitats in the world take on your example of how you can work with the legal system in the country and to enforce, the law.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we're doing with Oceans Asia is pretty broad. I mean, everything, like you say, from shark fin to upholding illegal fishing, chasing out illegal fishing vessels, monitoring and tracking shipments around the world, and also a lot of work with plastic and marine debris pollution. As you say, a lot of the stuff I do is more investigation based, and that's normally down to trying to find the source. I've always sort of said, with the plastic issue, I've said it so many times when I've gone into schools. If you go in and you see the bath overflowing, do you grab the mop or do you turn the tap off? And when we do these beach cleanups, which are really important, they're just turning the tap off. They're just mopping up the floor. We need to turn the tap off and we need to find the source. The same goes with the ghost nets. We need to clear them up. We need to get them out. Every single ghost net is a silent killer. It's a serial killer that just keeps killing. So every single one that we can get out is obviously very crucial and important. But more importantly, what I've been looking at recently is how and where they're coming from. It's easy to say fishermen, but which fishermen and where? So looking at the locations where we're finding them, I was looking at some recently. They're just near a fishing harbor we've got here called Chung Chau. And I just started wondering why this area of coastline over other areas has got so many more. And we started chatting with some of the local fishermen about what do you do with old nets when they're broken? And they said, well, we used to have a guy would come over from China and he would take all our old nets and fix them up and he'd give us a little bit of money for them. But now the nets have become so cheap, they don't bother. They can buy them in the mainland and they just don't need to bother. So these fishermen now, when they have these nets, they just dump them. And quite often we'll find multiple types of nets all bundled in together. So it's almost like they've collected them all on the boat and they've just bundled them all together and then just dumped them overboard. So, you know, it's more a question of investigating where they're coming from and then also how to try to stop them. You know, because they are so cheap, and you could just, you know, as Harry said, you can go and just buy them, you know, $20 US, you can go and buy 50, 100 meters of net, of monofilament gill net. So what I'm trying to look at is putting in some legislation where almost like a library, you know, so a fisherman would go and he'd say, I need 10 nets, and he registers those 10 nets and try to see if we can have some way of having a barcode or something on the actual net. So it's signed out to that fisherman. If he loses it, no problem. If he gets caught on a rock and he can't retrieve it, come back, let us know, or, you know, let the website know. This is what we're trying to do at the moment, so that then they can report it's lost. People like Harry or Heidi or myself can go there and try to put it up for them. But at least they're then being responsible. And that's the thing. We need to make these fishermen responsible for these nets, because at the moment they are completely irresponsible. So that's a little bit of what we're doing.
Fantastic investigation work. It's like tagging the nets, right? Like you would tag turtles or you tag birds. You're tagging the nets. So you ensure that whatever goes out into the ocean comes back. That's excellent. I mean, that's one example that all our viewers and the world over could take on from there. And could you expand a little more on the sources with your investigation work? I mean, they come from trawlers, they come from, you know, fishing locally, they come from illegal fishing, big ships. I mean, what are the various sources?
We do, yeah, well, we do see the odd, now and again, we see some of the big trawl nets. But very, very rarely, because they're obviously normally deeper water. Trawling has been banned in Hong Kong since 2013. So, you know, we haven't had so much the trawlers. We do get some of the large purse seine nets, which are discarded. We pulled one ashore just 2 days ago. But mostly it's these monofilament gill nets. They're so cheap. They've got the little orange floats and little bits of lead on the bottom. And, you know, they are so cheap. When they get caught on a rock, the fishermen just leave them, you know. So those are probably the biggest issue. They're also the issue for divers. I mean, swimming into a purse seine net's not going to be such a problem because they are a lot bigger. You'll be able to see them. These monofilament are invisible. And as Heidi said, you know, our visibility here is shocking. And before you know it, you're in a net. So I used to teach divers here, and yeah, we would always be carrying 2, if not 3 different cutting devices, knives, scissors, you know, rope cutters, anything. Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're going to get caught in a net.
Excellent. I mean, you're talking about microfilament, very thin nets now being used, right? So could you be able to expand on microplastics? They're so tiny, like salt and like sand. They're in your hair, they're in your food, then the belly of the fish that you can't see them. Can you expound on
well, if you want to talk more on plastics itself, you know, plastic always breaks down and breaks down and breaks down into smaller pieces. There is no such thing as sort of, well, when they say it's biodegradable, it just breaks down into smaller and smaller parts. One of the studies we've been doing recently out in the Soko Islands is on microplastics, and that's literally just, you know, counting the amount of microfragments and plastics that we're getting. They end up in fish. They take on toxins when they're in the water, get into the fish, pass the toxins to the fish, and some people eat the fish. I don't.
Oh, that's absolutely good sharing there. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on board. We will get back to you again. Yes. So over to our next speaker. These are beautiful slides. Yes. Where is this one, Gary?
That one's actually Anwar, the next speaker.
Oh, the next speaker. Okay, all right, Anwar. Welcome, Anwar Abdullah. Anwar, can you hear me? We welcome you. And you're an expert at coral restoration. You dedicated all your life to it. And imagine if these nets was, to get caught up in the corals, what would happen? Anwar, are you there with me? He's the founder of Ocean Quest, global creator of Sea Shepherd, Coral Rehabilitation Project Southeast Asia.
It says here the host is muting me.
Now I can hear you. Beautiful. Warm welcome.
Okay.
I was supposed to be training under him when the COVID isolation started, and I really missed that.
Yeah, I know you're supposed to come and take a course with me, right?
And I'm going to do
but
that.
Anyway.
Isolation. So tell us.
We are talking about. We are talking about the ghost net, right?
If they get stuck.
Yeah, when a ghost net gets stuck in a coral, there are a lot of things that's going to happen. The first is that because the ghost net, when it first arrives onto the coral, it is still clean. So a clean surface will start to promote coral, algae growth. So algae growth will start to grow on top of the net and start blocking the light. And that is when the corals start to degrade. And then apart from that, initially when the net is caught on the reef, obviously the fisherman is trying to retrieve it. They try to yank it over and break a lot of corals and things like that. But being the ghost net, there are a lot of things. We will be talking about where we go from there. It's a mess. Basically, the feeling of seeing a ghost net is the same feeling if like you walk by on the street and you suddenly fall into a sewer. And then how do you feel? You feel you are in a big mess, right? So you have to get out of the big mess. So the world now, basically the world's ocean now, according to what I have here on the side here from the EU, 46% of the great garbage patch is fishing net. You imagine that? 46% of all the plastic pollution in the garbage patch is actually fishing net. So they are talking about garbage patch, but we're not talking about garbage patch. We're talking about the coral reef of the tropics.
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as you go out of the touristic area, in the touristic area, people are watching, they are caring for the dive sites. That's your product, they sell. But once you step out of the touristic area, then you will see craters of bombs and fishing net everywhere. Some areas in this region, you find up to 12 layers of net. I don't know for how long it's been there. It may be from 12 years ago and one every year, or maybe 24 years ago, one every 2 years. And that amount to tons and tons of it. So yeah, it's about 64 million tons that was lost. And then that is astounding. My position as a founder of an organization, we are looking at solutions. We are looking at solutions. I'm listening to something like, what do we do with ghost net when we get it out of the water? It's going to get smelly. Yes, we write disposal policies, disposal protocol. For example, ghost net, every ghost net comes with lead as weights on it. And lead is a poison. It's a metal, but it's a poison. And we need to get rid of those lead. So there's upcycling program that we are promoting. You can upcycle the lead, melt it down, make diving weights so that the divers can go remove more nets, for example. And things like that as is protocol. And doing statistics, writing up statistics, how many, how long, making average estimates, planning on what is going to do, what is going to happen, and how can we get the local people who's actually dumping the net not to dump into the ocean and instead give to people who recycle them. For example, Adidas is making shoes out of ghost nets. They need 40,000 tons of it. And that's substantial. And then if the net is clean and they want to discard it and they sell it to the local vendor for a certain amount of money, that goes into recycling and goes into building something else. But that culture has not been promoted. Because why? Because there is no money in it. There is no income. And the easiest solution is to dump it in the ocean, right? So we have to be looking at a positive way of solving this problem. We cannot be in the countermeasures steps all the time. We are talking about diving and removing nets. I've been doing it countless of times, but that's countermeasure. That's when the net is already on the reef, right? And half of the net is on the reef is not even accidental. It's actually thrown overboard by the fishermen. And these are plastic, these are good material, these are recyclable material. And we need to address this because in the EU sort of like presentation here, they said 46% of the garbage is our nets in the ocean. So if 46% of that, tons over tons of, I don't know, thousands, millions of tons of this, that can be upcycled, can be used. There are machines now that eats up plastic and shits out construction material, right? And that can be schools, home for islanders and coastal communities. There are machines, there are people who are innovative to do that. And that's solution. We are looking into solution. If we are looking into the problems and countermeasures, the war will never be won. So we are looking into solutions whereby before the net gets into the water, for example, if anyone wants to throw a net, we will say to them, there's this place that you can give it and you get a little bit of money back. People will want to do that, you know? Education is one thing, awareness is another thing, but local benefits in return for what they do. Give back local benefit. If we can do that, that's a solution. As a global organization, I'm running a global thing here. I'm not talking about Mergui, I'm not talking about Malaysia, I'm not talking about Indonesia. I'm talking about the whole thing. We've been even to the Pacific to do this, right? So if we want to do this in a real way, then a lot of things has to be changed. A lot of things needs to be sit down. A lot of great thinkers around the world can come up with a solution easily. The only question is whether we want or we don't want, right? We can do it, but provided that there's no more, we can stop the input first. We know there's a million tons of nets in the ocean, but if we don't stop the continuous input of new nets, then the war will never be won. If we stop the new input, then we can work on the one that's in the water. Nets, if you found them and if you can disinfect them and clean them, they can be shades for organic gardens. They can be a lot of other things that you can use for gardening, for example. Even fences for gardens can be used, as provided you can get rid of the smell. And of course, smell comes from bacteria that's dying. So that's easy. You can disinfect it and get rid of the smell. But that's not the issue. The issue is, how are we going to solve the global issue of ghost net? We don't even have the quantity. We don't even have the statistic of really how much net is in the ocean. I bet you it's plenty. Yeah. So my message to the people is that we will find solutions, but we will work with them. We want them to help us, to help the ocean, because of course we are thinkers. We are trying to do things, but we are not the authority. We don't control people. We don't want to do that. We want to work with the people so that solution is put in place. That's my ultimate thing.
Yeah. Anwar, it's fantastic sharing. Can you also talk about how helpful is the government where you are stationed? Are there any incentives? Have you approached them for incentives so the fishermen, bring back the nets and they get money for it, like recycle the net? How
so far throughout the region, there is no such things yet. Basically, not only in Myanmar, but also in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, it's the same. There's no incentive whatsoever for people to reduce the input of ghost net or to help remove it. So that is far from the objective at the moment. But probably, yes, if there is help from other bigger countries or United Nations or things like that, it can be done. But for the region at the moment, I have not seen any initiative like that.
Okay, one last question. Ghost nets, when you're retrieving them from the ocean, how different and how tough is your job taking out ghost nets from corals, because they're so delicate? So is there another expertise involved? It's so delicate.
Okay, as a rule of thumb, we have this calculation because we've been weighing the nets that we've been removing. So usually it's about every net that we bring up, about between 35 to 45% of what's brought up to the surface is something that's caught in the net. It can be coral, it can be rocks, it can be crabs and shrimps and dead fishes or anything. So between 35 to 45% of the weight of the net that we bring up is something that's not the net, something from the ocean, mainly are corals. Yeah. So if we bring up, say, yeah.
Can you replant those corals or they're just destroyed?
Mainly those corals after entanglement with nets, it depends on the length of time. If it's new and it's still alive, yes, of course, we can take fragments and propagate them in the nurseries. But if it's been there for a long time and it's been covered in the net and the net has been harboring algae and blocking the light and they are dead. Basically, they are nothing but calcium carbonate. Yeah. So imagine if a fisherman lost 500 kilos of net, you have to add 45% more of that 500 kilo. That means almost a ton that you need to pull out. That's how difficult it is.
Oh my God. Absolutely. That was excellent sharing, Anwar, and I hope to join you soon someday. You're like the father of education where coral restoration is concerned, and I really salute you and your work. More power to you, Anwar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon. I know you pack your bag to come and see me. Thank you anyway.
The flights to start, and I'll join you shortly and I'll assist you with your work. Yes, thank you so much. So a very nice speaker, Jonas Coles. Namaste, all the way from India.
Hello,
Namaste,
how are you?
He's
Hello?
from our AC French colony, Auroville, in Pondicherry, in India. amazing work in the ocean, working with the fishermen community. And he's also the owner of Eternal Divers and an expert on technical dive instructor, right? You're an expert in that. And he's based in South India. So a question for you, Jonah. Tell us more about your work, and also how close and how fruitful is your interaction with the fishing community in South India? How well can you take this forward where ghost nets are concerned?
So Pondicherry is quite a new dive destination, and we're doing a lot of exploration still, trying to find new dive sites and so forth. So when we go and do these explorations, we communicate with the fishermen to find out where are the reefs and things like that. And that's a whole process of becoming friendly with them. And very often when we go to these new sites, we find a big net that has been stuck, or that's why they know there's a reef there, because they lost a big net. So from the very beginning, we started feeling that we had to do something. We couldn't just make our living off the ocean. We had to also kind of give back to the ocean. And we started taking these nets out, just because they disturbed us and we didn't like having them there. Then a few years ago, we started to realize that there's more and more divers that actually want to give back to the ocean. They've done their rescue course, and then they're saying, what next? What is the next thing that I can learn? And because we dive, we don't have a chamber, we don't have a lot of facilities, we focus very, very strongly on safety. Yeah. So we decided to create a course, a curriculum to teach divers how to remove nets safely. So it starts, by removing the monofilament nets, which are easier to remove because you can roll them up and so forth, to actually removing sometimes nets that are 100 or 200 meters long and that weigh, 600-700 kilos when you get them out of the water. Some of them, the last net we found, we still haven't removed, is 50 meters deep. So it requires very trained divers to be able to even think at that depth and make sure that they focus not only on removing the net and staying safe, but on all the other things. I see so often when we start this training and you have a young diver removing a net at 18 meters, and they get so focused on removing the net, they forget their bottom time, their gas consumption, everything else. Now, because some of these sites are shared with the fishermen, we sometimes come there and there's a fisherman there trying to get his net off the reef. So we figured, why don't we jump in the water, tell the guy to stop pulling, and we remove the net for him, and then he can take it back with him. So we got into a kind of a relationship where they're almost like, hey, can you remove the net for us? And sometimes they'll even wait 2-3 hours because they're hoping we come to the dive site and we can then remove the net for them. Because even though monofilament nets are cheap, they're still in Indian rupees, like 10,000-12,000 rupees, that's $150-200. That's a lot of money here, so if they can get it back. So what we're trying to do, we've just started, but we're trying to create, we call them ghost net busters. Yeah, they're fishermen in the village that they can call and they go and remove the net for them, and it can actually, in our opinion, it can actually be a business, because if you got to spend X number of dollars or rupees or whatever to buy a new net, but you could spend a lot less and have someone go under and remove it for you, maybe there'll be less net in the ocean. And our focus is on actually making sure that whoever does that and the divers are skilled enough to make it back alive and not get entangled themselves in the net. I liked what Heidi said, where it's almost surgery when you're trying to remove a net from a reef, because you really have to kind of cut things out. And it's sometimes, you've got a net that's there for 5 years and you've got gorgonians or other things that have grown through the net. And if you just remove the net, you kill that which has managed to establish itself on top of the net. So it's very, let's say, there's a lot of aspects to it. And what I really found interesting today is to see how, we share a lot of similar ideas between people in different parts of the world doing this work. And I think the focus internationally on ghost nets is not yet there. And I think that once we start to create the global awareness of how important ghost nets are in the overall pollution in the ocean, it will be a lot easier for us to start sharing resources and knowledge, and we won't be doing the same thing, how do you say, side by side. Then instead we can work together, so we can pool our resources together to achieve much more together, instead of everybody doing their own little thing in a corner.
Since you've been working so closely with the fisher folks, have you tried eco-friendly nets, biodegradable nets? Have you? What is their response?
You see, the dive community here uses fishing boats. So in that sense, we employ a lot of fishermen, and we talk to them, and we have a good relationship with them. You cannot go tell a fisherman here what he should do, what he shouldn't do. You cannot tell him, use this net, use that net. You cannot even tell him that what he's doing is bad, because he'll cut the relation. He'll be like, who are you to tell me? The ocean is my birthright. They really feel entitled to that resource, So what we find a better approach is to just show them other alternatives. Showing them other nets is not going to work, because they're not available in the market here yet,
Okay.
As far as I know.
Do you involve circular economy when the nets come back? Do you recycle in Pondicherry?
What we try to do is either get the net out as quickly as possible so the fishermen can take it back. If not, we also have a bit of a problem where, we kind of let it dry in the sun on an abandoned piece of land for a few weeks, so it really kind of, all that stink and everything just dies. And then it kind of goes to a landfill, sadly. There's not much recycling happening on that level yet. But I think that's also something we're starting to look at. Since about a year, we've started collecting data of what's in the nets and trying to compile what would be possibilities. I think Harry or Heidi mentioned that, some artists are creating things. We've also talked to some artists asking them, hey, do you want this material that you could use for installations or projects? And I loved Anur's idea of using it for shade in the garden. South India, we have really hot summers. We buy shade net. Farmers buy shade net. Like, if we could just give them this for free, it might. So there's definitely, I think, better ways to deal with the disposal of it than is being done.
India is moving forward. We have shredding machines now. So if we shred plastic and make sheets or, surfboards and other things, we could also start shredding nets. I don't know how far that will be feasible. But I liked your point on, studying the data on the segregation of waste, with the waste to collect. We forget to study what is in the waste and segregate that so that we can reuse it in different manners. Like when I work with the lake here and the rivers, and because that's the source of where the plastics go into the ocean. So we're trying here with the municipality and the government to stop it at source, so it doesn't reach the ocean in the first place. So that's good insight. And
what we're really focusing on is training divers, both local fishermen and people who want to do this safely, because I have thousands of dives and I've removed, I don't know how much net, and I still get entangled once in a while and find myself forgetting something, to pay attention to. So that's our main focus. We want to educate the people to do this safely, and then hopefully create a kind of army of guys and people who care and who have the knowledge to do this without getting in trouble. That for me is the most important skill. We also have a marine biologist who's taking the other side forward.
How many fisher folks have you trained to dive? And
we've trained about 10 fishermen to dive and to work on removing nets. For them, they're still fishing. They're the boat captain and the people that actually want to get in the dive industry. We're trying to show them that this is an alternative way of actually making a living. But as you know, in India, a lot of things, what happens is a rule is made or something is implemented, and then it takes years before it actually comes into effect. So what we're hoping is that by planting these seeds in the fishermen around us that are open to the idea, eventually they will become the activists that will have the power, because it's in their own community to say, no, this is unacceptable, we have to do something about it.
That's a fantastic aspect of my research. So you are a true example of how you're impacting the community, involving the community. It's like for the community, by the community. That's fabulous, Jonah. So proud of you.
Thank you.
And I will extend my research to Pondicherry someday soon.
Come. You can all come.
So I don't know how we're doing for time, but we have our beautiful Heidi Tate, all the way from Australia. Welcome, Heidi, on board. Are you there?
I am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. She's the MD and the co-founder of Tango Blue Foundation in Australia. I remember diving at the Great Barrier Reef, and it was awesome. So I'd like you to expand and tell the world about ghost nets and Great Barrier Reef. And also about the work that you do.
Yeah, so Tangaroa Blue Foundation started back in 2004. I was working as a dive instructor in Western Australia and just got really concerned about the different varieties of marine debris washing up on in a national park, actually. And what really astounded me was the different sources. There was stuff with international writing on it. There was local litter. There was a whole variety of different types of commercial fishing gear. And the question came straight away as to, well, why is it here and how do we stop it so it doesn't come back again? And every piece that we picked up has a story. It's come from somewhere. And it's understanding at what point does that loss occur and why, what needs to change. Is it a change in design? Is it a change in use? Is it a change in legislation or compliance? And really understanding that loss enables us to promote or find these solutions. And I guess Australia is a really big country, and what we find up in Cape York in the very northeast part of Australia is completely different to what we find washing up on our beaches in Melbourne or on the West Coast. And so we need to be regionally strategic in stopping marine debris because it comes from a wide variety of sources. I guess in the very north of Australia, we work with a lot of the Indigenous communities and their ranger teams. And ghost nets are a massive problem, particularly in the Gulf of Carpentaria, which is the west side of Cape York, where currents come from the Arafura Sea and bring ghost nets in, first of all, landing in an area near Weipa and Mapoon, and then floating around in that Gulf and then hitting the western side of the Gulf. And a lot of the tracking that's been done to that ghost net was coming from illegal fishing and unregulated fishing in the Arafura Sea. And the rangers were pulling hundreds and hundreds of nets off their beaches every year. It's very remote. It's very hard to get to those nets to get the equipment that you need to pull them out of the sand. And in a lot of cases, you can't take them anywhere. So the rangers had to burn them on site. Now, we try and get them back to areas where they can be disposed of better. But in some cases, it's just so far away and logistically it's impossible. What we were really interested to see is there was a change in the Minister of Fisheries in Indonesia a couple of years ago, and she really cracked down on illegal fishing in the Arafura Sea. And the number of ghost nets in the Gulf of Carpentaria has been significantly decreased as a result of that. So it shows that strong compliance measures can affect the impact of ghost nets. When we look over to the eastern side of Cape York and along the Great Barrier Reef, we find different sorts of nets. We find a lot of fads, a lot of tuna trackers and those buoys with big aerials hanging off them. So very, very different types of nets. Again, it shows you the different types of fisheries on either side of the coast. But what we've tried to do is work with communities, and we have over 1,300 partner organisations around Australia, and every beach cleanup and underwater cleanup that we do, we record data and that data is housed in the Australian Marine Debris Initiative database. In fact, we actually reached a massive milestone today. Our 16th millionth piece of data has been inputted into that database, making it one of the biggest in the world now, and one of the longest lived. And we're really using every piece of that data to try and influence the changes that need to happen to really stop this stuff at the source, whether it's a commercial fishing issue or whether it's a local litter issue. The data really helps us to have the evidence that's needed.
Fabulous. Australian Marine Debris Association. That's where you get all your scientific data from. That's the first step to progress. Fantastic. And what's the message you'd like to give, tourists coming? Say they would come to Australia as tourists. Would you involve them? Would you give them incentives? I mean, the divers love the Great Barrier Reef. It's a very popular worldwide destination. Would you involve them? Do you have a program for them, the tourists?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of our cleanup events are, a couple of hours. Some of them are a week camping in the remotest places of Australia. So there's plenty of opportunity for everybody. But through the Australian Marine Debris Initiative, we have a data collection app, and anybody can go out and do a cleanup on their patch of river or beach and record their data, so it goes into the national database. So it doesn't need to be a formal big cleanup for people to contribute. Anybody can contribute. And we actually have people contributing data from other areas around the South Pacific and Southeast Asia as well. So it just doesn't need to be Australia. We know that the oceans are connected, and we need to look at this issue at a regional scale. Otherwise, even if Australia had the best policy in the world on marine debris, which it definitely doesn't, but even if we did, we would still have a marine debris problem unless all our neighbours had just as good policies. So we need to look at this definitely at a regional context. I would also say that everyone needs to make some really, good, well-informed decisions of what they're doing. I get very concerned when I see plastics being made into clothing, which then gets put in a washing machine that releases microfibers back into the ocean. That's not a solution. We look at tourists going out onto the Barrier Reef, and they take these pool noodles out there to help them float. Every bit of abrasion and UV light attacks those items and just fragments them into smaller and smaller pieces. So we need to really be conscious of what's passing through each one of our hands and start choosing better materials, longer living materials, things that aren't going to be fragmenting. And I think the last thing I'd say is we want people to understand about plastic. And I'd like to give a challenge to everybody out there is to say, when we talk about plastic degrading, we don't want to talk about it breaking down, because if we talk about it breaking down, people think it eventually goes away. So we want to be people talking about plastic breaking up. It breaks up into smaller and smaller and more pieces. It becomes a harder problem to deal with, more expensive and difficult to remove from our oceans. And so we want people to really understand that it never goes away. Just because you can't see it anymore doesn't mean it's miraculously disappeared.
That's very valuable information, Heidi. In fact, what you're trying to say is that go biodegradable. Instead of, if you recycle them, the plastic still exists, right?
We're talking about compostable. We want to have compostable materials, not biodegradable, because not everything that's biodegradable is actually not harmful. So compostable, and when we talk about compostable, we also need to think about whether it needs to be in an industrial composting facility or whether it can compost in your garden. So we want compostable materials that actually can be composting in your garden. And those are the ones that are going to leave less harm. And I think that there's a lot of confusion internationally about what words like biodegradable and degradable and oxydegradable and all of these words, what they mean. And people think that they are all good, and there's not. We need to be much better educated on this terminology and not get greenwashed by big companies who just want to sell us more crap.
All right. On a closing note, Heidi, something I'd like you to share. What's been your biggest challenge, one-time experience of taking out ghost nets? What was the most exciting and most challenging time of all your years of experience? Share with us.
Well, I think I actually have a photo that I submitted, so I don't know if we can pop that one up. And this is actually a big ghost net that we found only about 15 or 20 centimeters just sitting on the top of the sand, and we thought, oh, there's a little bit of rope there, and we started digging, and you can see this group of people that were all there for a big multi-day cleanup. And in the end, there was 25 people there. We had Indigenous rangers, we had people from the army, we had volunteers, and it took us the entire day to dig this net out. And I think that's it tells you, you know, how long it can take to remove something like this when it's buried deep in the sand, and then transport it to somewhere where it can either be recycled. And we're lucky, a lot of the ghost nets we find in Cape York are dry, as you can see with this one, and we can recycle them. The artists love them, so we're able to really repurpose and upcycle some of this stuff. But just digging it out, and it's hot, and it's, you know, humid, and it's in the sun, and you just got to keep going. The number of turtle bones you find in there, or dugong bones, is just, it's heartbreaking. But you know, you can't let it go back in the water again, because it's just going to keep killing again and again and again.
Wow, that was massive. And on the beach and the sand, how many tons was that? It looks huge.
It was huge. I mean, it was probably close to a ton once it all came out. And you find that a lot of different nets kind of accumulate together once they're floating around in the bay. And so you might have 3 or 4 nets that have joined together, and then bits of wood and other flotsam and jetsam that can make it really difficult to dig out. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of strength, and a lot of collaboration to remove some of this stuff.
That's fabulous work. Good work, Heidi. Hope to see you in Australia someday.
Yeah, come and visit us when everybody can fly again.
And we can fly again. We'll all catch up again. Great work all our panelists have been doing, and real veterans and years of experience, and taking on the ocean on a very, very serious note. And I'm so proud of all the work that you guys are doing. So over to Elfrance and to Nora. Would you like to do the closing note?
Thank you.
And answers from our viewers.
Thank you, Elsie. Thank you, everyone. Just give me a moment. Okay. Welcome. Thank you so much for all your time. We do have a couple of questions, but I think this question, I'll put it over onto Facebook, and I'll share it. I'll share it with all of you guys, and then you guys can actually answer them. Pretty good questions also. So I hope that you guys will have the time to answer these questions. All right. So just to round up everything before we end this session, I just like to one more time thank Elsie Gabriel from India for facilitating and moderating this for us. I'd like to thank Harry Chan, all the way from Hong Kong, for being a part of this. Heidi Yu, our ADEX Ambassador of Marine Conservation. Gary Stokes from Ocean Asia, thank you so much. Anwar Abdullah from Ocean Global Quest, thank you for all your sharing. Jonah, Scholes, thank you so much. We're from India. And also, last but not least, Heidi Tate, thank you so much for staying up this late all the way from Australia. Just to have a little reminder, right after this session, we will be doing a Asia preview of this ocean short films. Called We Are Water, or Somos Agua, by Miss Patricia Furtado de Mendoza. She is the founder of Aqua Matter, and do stay tuned and stay with us to just catch this short film and also an interview with her. Once again, thank you very much, and do reply the questions on Facebook. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nora.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Take care.
And bye.